welcome back to Spending Freeze 102. I'm Julie, this is Spend Less Craft More, and today's challenge is to use themed products in a manner that they weren't intended for. So for example, using Christmas supplies on a birthday layout, using Halloween supplies on a holiday layout, anything like that. I've wanted to do this challenge for a while, but I don't actually own very many themed products. I knew I had these two kind of winter themed papers. Now it doesn't snow where I live, and I'm not planning on a trip to the snow anytime soon. So I was thinking I would just use these papers just for the B-side. And if you use them in your layering, you're not going to notice that this is a snowflake. You can just read it as a red pattern paper. This side here obviously looks quite sort of winter themed, whereas the back, which is what I would have bought it for, is just a nice blue paper that can go with virtually anything. So that's what I was imagining that I would do. But then I came across this paper in my stash just the other day, and I certainly would have bought this for the B side. That's a nice neutral grey and cream. I don't know if you can tell, but it's X's and O's. It's from a crepe paper, Valentine's Day, and on the back, or on the front if you like, we've got all these 14s and the word February. So you'd see this, you know it's a Valentine's Day themed thing, so you're certainly going to think Valentine's Day. However, I saw this and I thought, my daughter turned 14 last year. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to use some of these 14s and probably use a bit of their backside as well on a layout about my daughter's birthday. So I'll speed you up and we'll see what we come up with. Okay, so as I've already said, I knew that I was going to cut out some of those 14s from that paper, and I also knew that I wanted to use some of the B-side as a photo mat. So the first thing that I'm doing here is I'm just cutting down a piece that's the right side for my photo mat, just so that I don't forget to do that. Now that was the paper, that floral was the paper that I thought I was probably going to use as my background paper, but in the end it's actually that blue Christmas paper that I had out already on my desk that I end up deciding to use for my background. So in terms of the products that I have used on this layout, obviously I've started with my themed papers, and pretty much everything else. I did pull out a couple of 6-inch papers because that's something that I want to focus on for the time being, is remembering to use those 6-inch papers, especially just as part of layering and mounting and photo mats and things like that. One of them is actually Valentine's theme as well. You can't see it at the moment, but it's got just a diagonal sort of pink arrows with little tiny hearts that isn't very easy to see, but that was from a basic grey Valentine's pad. So that gets into my layering. The other one is a Chamel one. Everything else pretty much, I've had a few homemade kits sitting around for a while that just got into a bit of a mess, and so they're all just kind of lumped in together now, and I want to just try and use bits and pieces of that up before I have to sort of properly dekit and put things away. So that's pretty much what's getting used on this page. And there we go, that's the one, that's the pink arrows. And the Chamel one, I think it's got words like lovely and love and and I think wander, so perhaps it might be, I mean certainly it's got the word love, but I think if anything it was more a kind of a travel theme, if it had a theme at all. So both these alphabets that you can see I've got out now were just part of those old kits that have been sort of mushed together, and you can see these pink foam thickers being pretty well used. So I'm just using that good old trick of, if you haven't got the letters left that you want, I'm trimming things down to get the letters that I need, and both those colours are just going to work really well with this layout. I am pretty bad at throwing thickers away. I do still have a few packets there with very few vowels left. I just hold on to the hope that I'll be able to use them just that one more time, so we'll see how I go. So this is where I'm pulling out some embellishments from one of those kits, just to see what I'm going to manage to use up. So our challenge today, as I've said, is to use themed products for a purpose that they weren't intended for. So how about over on the Facebook group we try and make ourselves a bit of a list with lots of ideas of what sort of themed products we can use in different ways. I'm probably, as I said, not the best person to give you the ideas for this because I don't buy a lot of themed products. I've probably already used the main ideas, which is, for example, just the B side of a pattern paper, or even any paper, and just use, such a small amount in your matting that you can't tell what the pattern is. In terms of Valentine's Day, 14s can clearly be used for any other reason you'd want the number 14, such as a 14th birthday like this. Valentine's stuff often has, I guess, hearts, which you know most scrapbook pages that we do, let's face it, is something to do with someone or something that we love, so there's plenty of ways to use hearts. But how about you guys have a look through your stash of themed products and see what ideas that you can come up with from your themed stash, and let's get some ideas going. And I hope that you do all have a go at this challenge and show us what you come up with. So all those 14s that I cut out, and pretty much all my paper elements, have been inked around the edges in a grey ink. I think it might be called charcoal. And I'm just making sure that my title is going to fit in the spot where I want it to before I actually commit. So obviously I'm happy now, and I'm committing all my bits and pieces into their final position. So you can see that I've got some doily die cuts there. One of them's been cut in half to put in two positions, and all my little clusters sort of start with the doily, and then there's a bunch of those 14s sort of laid on top of each other, and I just sort of tried to mix the pink ones in with the aquary sort of coloured ones. And after that, in a little while, you'll see I'll add some little diamantes, and there's some butterflies, which actually I think it was a Stampin' Up punch and stamp set, which I don't even know, many years ago my friend had them, and I stamped and punched quite a few out, so they're finally fluttering onto a little home here on this particular page. So my 14s are all going to cluster up like that. I tried to mix the pink ones up with the aqua ones, and other than that and some diamantes, there's just going to be some wood veneers, which I ink up with that same grey ink that I inked my edges with. So guys, thanks again so much for your support and for watching. I hope you've all had a really great Easter. It'll probably be over by the time this video's up, but I hope you've all had a great weekend. I hope you're finding time to create and to dive into your stash. And if you do take part in this challenge, I hope that you'll show us what you make. And I will catch you guys soon in the next challenge.